Hi, and welcome to the third of the Competent Benefits Manager videos. This time we're going to talk about identifying benefits, or as we're referring to it in the title, the hunt for benefits. So where do we start? Let's remind ourselves of the process. We've already set some benefits management context, and I hope that you've become more familiar with this and done the work around your own organisation in that module and come to terms a little bit with the Nightingale Hospital case study and what needs to be done there. So now we're on the second one, identifying benefits. So where do we start? Well, the starting point for most programs is that they are set up to achieve some sort of strategic goal or aim. And in the bullets, we've come up with a bunch of things where you could be having a look at. Now, the most important one is the program blueprint, because the program blueprint is setting out the as-is state and the target operating model state. All right, and so we know where we're starting and where we're finishing. Now, the whole point of the program is to move the organization and some aspects of its performance on. So clearly, the difference between where we are today and where you're going to end up in 3-5 years' time is where the benefits are going to sit, because it's the reason you're doing it. Okay, so that's the most important place. But maybe there are some other areas. We may have prescribed performance changes, particularly in the public sector. You see during periods of cuts, 10% reduction in workforce. There's no guarantee that's going to produce any benefits whatsoever. However, they're prescribed. So it may be that your program's picked up on one of those. In the more mature organization, we may be doing operational analysis, and this would be using kind of Lean and Six Sigma to look at ways that things are being done, seeing the opportunities for improvement in there. We should really be talking about other programs. What have they learned? Yeah, predecessors, parallel, ones that are going on doing similar things in other organizations. What can you learn from your network of program managers or business change specialists? Have we got compliance targets? Yeah, so we may have a new law coming in. You may have changes to carbon footprints that you have to achieve. The benefits from those are compliance, not necessarily financial or something. Consulting with stakeholders. Now, there's a crazy idea, isn't it? But they're the ones who know how this whole thing works. They're the ones who will see the opportunities for improvement and improvement to them, because we need to think about this impact on stakeholders themselves. Other organizational experience, if you're rolling out a big IT system, if you're rolling out some digital interfaces, what did they learn? What did they get right or wrong? Okay, if they're your competitors, you might have to take a little bit of a rain check on what they're telling you, because they might be selling you down a one-way street. But there will be others that have done it. Now, if you're in a more mature organization, you've got a portfolio office, the likelihood is they'll have checklists and guidance that you can refer to that will give you a starting point on where to look. So as part of the next couple of slides in this video, we're just going to pick up some big issues that we should consider. First of all, the 3 E's drive our program benefits hunt. So they stand for economic, which is really the management of money, yeah, or the management of the environment. Of course, it changes a little bit if you're in the public sector to if you're in the private sector. But management of money, you're investing in capital assets. If you choose to lease them, it might be savings, that kind of thing. It's a better use of money. Be careful that we don't think of economic as cashable. It's better use of your cash. It doesn't mean you're making a cashable benefit, because any of those 3 can give you a cashable or non-cashable benefit. When we talk about effective, we're talking about doing things to a higher quality. Yep, so more reliability, we see benefits in less cost of failure and all that kind of stuff. All right. And then the third one is efficiency, doing more for the same, or the same with less. These are the areas that the benefits come from. They get written up in different ways, but they all track back to these 3 areas. And we should always keep these in our mind during benefits management. Which one is it? And you could have a benefit that actually affects all of those, obviously. Something like process improvement could trigger at least 2 of those E's when it's in operation. Okay, so when we're talking about strategic objectives, it's worth thinking about what these mean. So they come in a number of forms. They could be anything, but we've picked up 4 or 5 here. Legal compliance, what does that mean? That means the law's changing. The expectation of you as your organisation is changing. Equal rights, that kind of stuff, you need to be compliant. Now, the benefit of compliance is the avoidance of being prosecuted. All right, this affects health and safety and others, obviously. So legal compliance in itself is not a benefit, but it is achievement and objective. So in those areas, you really need to think about what are the things you're going to avoid, the negative effects of non-legal compliance. Cost reduction, quite often a strategic objective for most organisations, but cost reduction itself is actually an outcome, a bit like legal compliance, because it's what you do with that money. What's the point of that money? If the cost reduction just leads to more profit for the board of directors, then maybe that's not necessarily, it's only a benefit to them. It's not going to be a benefit to other people. All right, service improvements, keeping up with the competition, setting the agenda, being the best of class. This is something that Aspire always aspires to, as we're talking about it, that we are the best training company. Yeah, and when we see somebody competing with us, we try to be better than them. Service improvement programs, they're everywhere, aren't they? Yeah, but they're more strategic objectives, because the benefit of service improvement is retained customers, cash flow, etc., etc. Market position, if you're in a competitive market and your competitors are moving and investing in, digital systems, online trading, you think about all the high street shops. I mean, we're recording this as we come up to Christmas in 2020. The high street's being devastated by the COVID stuff, and it's not just in the UK, it's around the world. Market position, unless you're online, then you're dead in the water, in truth. Yep, so these are the strategic objective. Those that went online 2 years ago are going to be in a much better place, yeah, than those that haven't moved. So it's almost too late for them now at that point, but it would have been a justification for that kind of stuff. And then environment and safety, post-COVID, I'm sure our holistic view of the world is going to change. Organizational objectives may change. We need to think about from an environment, carbon footprint, all that kind of stuff, the 2030 objectives in the UK to be carbon neutral. Safety, we're thinking about COVID at the moment, but also there's other forms of safety we should be thinking about as well. So those are where our strategic objectives potentially help us. These are the sources of where our organisational masters think the benefits are going to be. But remember, nearly all of these are outcomes. Yep, they're not actually benefits. So where do we go looking? Where can we find the internal performance improvement? Well, here's a quick list of them. Process rationalization, using lean to take chunks out of bureaucracy out of the system. Greater utilization of staff, more productivity. The UK, we're apparently one of the least productive countries in the world. So maybe there's opportunities there. But of course, it's much easier to manage staff utilization when you're in a manufacturing environment to a service environment. How do you manage the utilization of those folks serving us coffee and pret-a-manger? Okay, supply chain rationalization. Well, obviously in the UK over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen massive this as the public sector puts all its money down through 1 or 2 or 3 big suppliers who in turn have kind of eradicated the small companies below them and a single supplier. Is that cheaper? Who knows? But you can see the saving would be in procurement and contract management, because if you only got one supplier, you need less contract management. Improve control. Yeah, so actually you're taking less risk. Asset utilization. Can you squeeze the pips out of your assets more so that the machines run faster or they last longer, lower maintenance, all that kind of thing. Reduced organizational risk. Obviously legal compliance will actually be a good example of a objective that leads to reduce organizational risk, but you could be doing things to head off. How many organizations, and certainly in Aspire, are looking at this kind of internal performance change, thinking we wish we thought about that 2 years ago, because of the impact of COVID wiping us out, who really took a global pandemic seriously. Although I can say from an Aspire perception, 2 years ago, we did actually move heavily online with all our services by coincidence, so put us in a good place. Customer satisfaction, there's a performance issue. If you have to it's far more expensive to win customers than keep them. So if you can keep them happy, you gain from your lower cost. There's a clear performance benefit from cost reduction. Keep your customers happy. Brand enhancement's another one. You know, your perception, recognition of brands, that kind of thing, would in turn lead into other things. Now, one of the things we'll talk about is benefits mapping later, which is how you can have different benefits coming out of different scenarios and how you can measure them all. So those are internal performance. Then think about socioeconomic sources of benefits. You know, if you're in the public sector, these are things that will be relevant to you, and potentially they'll be as relevant for other organisations who have a community spirit around them and have commitments other than profit. So improved community safety. You know, some of these are the things that we came up with working with people like the fire services and the police over the years about the things that were important to them. These are the things that obviously with all these in your organisation, you'll need to think about including these things in your benefits strategy, because these are the places that you're going hunting. All right. So the sorts of social things we could be looking: protection of the vulnerable, enhanced community amenities, improved transport, improved economy. Improved transport is a really interesting one. You know, there's vast amounts of money being spent on roads and rail at the moment. Do they actually produce benefits? If you look at the criteria, something like the Department for Transport use, their criteria for benefits are journey time and capacity. Actually, they're outcomes, aren't they? Yeah, actually getting from Bristol to London 15 minutes earlier isn't really a benefit to me, you know, but actually being able to get there reliably and in comfort so you can do some work is more important. So the public sector can only really think about providing capabilities and outcomes. It's the wider community that has to use them. For one of the better term, taking a horse, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can put great train services in, but people won't get on them unless they're cheaper than going by car. All right. And then making sure fit for purpose services are there as well. Okay, that you're delivering what the community needs, not just what you want to deliver. Okay, so that's a quick run through. I hope that provides you with that. I hope you found all that useful. Now it's time for you to get on with the module. I hope that the exercises that we gave you in context prove useful, and I hope that the exercises that we've given you around the Nightingale case study, and most importantly for your own organisation, to go away and apply this. Just clicking through the slides isn't going to help anybody. We want you to actually improve and succeed. So please take the time to look at the way your organisation works and how you can improve it.